There is a particular rhythm to a Roman soldier's life. It begins before dawn, under a sky still dark, with the sound of the centurion's horn a low, echoing call that rolls across the camp like a rising tide. The air is chill, the fire has long gone out. You wake on the bare ground or on a bed of straw if you are lucky. Your armor is cold, the leather straps dig into your skin as you dress. Each movement, a reminder of the miles you've walked, the weight you carry. Your sandals are caked with dust and wear thin at the soles. Today, you will march, just as you did yesterday, and just as you will tomorrow. 20 miles, sometimes more, not over paved roads or open fields, but across hills, through dense forests, and over stony passes. You march in silence. Conversations are rare, kept to low murmurs or glances.
Ow.
The steady rhythm of feet on packed earth becomes a kind of lullaby in reverse repetitive, numbing, unrelenting. Imagine the weight. Your shield, thick and curved, presses against your left shoulder. Your sword Gladius hangs heavy at your side. There is a pack, 2-year sarsenus stuffed with food rations, spare clothing, tools, and often a stake for building defensive palisades. Perhaps a cooking pot dangles from the side. Every jostle is a reminder of how much you carry. Meals are simple. A hard biscuit of grain called buchelatum. A bit of dried meat if you're fortunate. Maybe some wine diluted with water. Sometimes the bread has gone moldy. Often the wine is sour. There is no tavern, no warm meal waiting. At the end of the day, you pitch your own tent, dig the ditch around it, raise the palisade, cook your food, and post-watch. Even in rest, your body is busy. There is always something to carry, to fix, to guard. Sleep is light. There are no pillows. The ground is uneven. If you're on guard duty, your sleep is halved or quartered.
Nice.
There is always the worry of ambush. Always the rustle in the woods. The cough from the next tent. The sharp bark of a distant dog. And then there's the threat of illness. Latrines, if dug, are shallow. The camp's crowded. Water sources are not always clean. Dysentery spreads quietly. A soldier may collapse not from a wound, but from fever. There are no doctors as we know them. Remedies include herbs, prayers, and sometimes nothing at all. But there is more than physical hardship. There is the matter of promises. We're promised land somewhere far from here, a plot to farm one day, perhaps in Gaul, or in Hispania, or on a hill in Illyria. A dream sold at enlistment. But will it ever come? Few soldiers live long enough to collect. Many die nameless, buried where they fell. And then there's the chain of command. The centurions are harsh, their authority unquestioned. A slap, a beating, even death could follow disobedience. You could be punished for sleeping at your post, for misplacing gear, for speaking out of turn. Worse still, there's decimation. In times of mutiny or cowardice, the punishment is ancient and brutal. 1 in 10 men chosen by lot is beaten to death by his fellow soldiers. Imagine the terror, not for a crime committed, but for the turn of fate. And what of battle? It is not a clash of glory, it is confusion. Dust thick in the air. The sound of horns, of men shouting, screaming. A wall of shields slamming forward, the enemy surges. Your arm swings again and again until it is numb. You cannot see your enemy's face. You fight not for Rome, not really, but for the man to your left, the one you've marched beside for months. Then silence. After the chaos, the silence is almost unbearable. You stare across the field. Friends do not rise. Some crawl. Some do not move at all. And yet, you march again tomorrow, through snow, through heat, across frozen rivers and burning deserts. In Gaul, in Judea, in Britannia, the rhythm of their lives was one of movement, of hardship, of obedience. Yet there is a strange pride, a unity. You are part of something larger. You build roads, walls, camps, cities. You carry Rome with you in your sweat and your struggle. The glory of the empire begins with the grime on your hands. And as the fire crackles low, as your tired body finally settles, you dream of that promised land, a dream that keeps you walking, a dream that may never come. Rome's most scandalous almost revolution, a deep narrative of corruption, betrayal, and Cicero's paranoia. Let us leave the muddy camps and tired marchers behind now. and turn instead to the heart of Rome's Senate, its whispers and its shadows. The year is 63 BCE. The air in the forum is heavy with anticipation. There's a subtle tension beneath the orderly clamor of togaed men and marble colonnades. Rome stands proud, but uncertain. The Republic is aging. Wealth floods in from conquered lands, but so does corruption. And into this restless, swelling city steps a man named Lucius Sergius Catiline, known simply as Catiline. Catiline? No foreign general? No outsider clawing at Rome's gates? No, Catiline is very Roman, noble-born, charismatic, seasoned in war, ambitious beyond measure, and yet deeply dissatisfied. Imagine him walking beneath the columns of the Senate, his gait confident, his gaze sharp. He has run for consul, the highest office in Rome, not once, but repeatedly. Each time he has failed. Whispers follow him, whispers of debts unpaid, alliances with gladiators, and promises made to the desperate. Catiline does not stand alone. Behind him, a growing group gathers. Disenfranchised senators, crushed debtors, young men with old names and empty purses, soldiers without war. There is a quiet agreement among them, a shared belief that the system is broken, that Rome has become a place where the rich grow richer and the rest. Wait, Catiline, they say, offers something different. He speaks of debt forgiveness, of a Rome returned to its roots. He promises land, wealth, titles, things taken from them by the arrogant patricians and their tight-fisted cronies. Imagine Rome by lamplight. Narrow alleys lit by flickering oil. Behind closed doors, voices rise in hushed tones. Maps are spread on tables. Letters are written in cipher. Men swear oaths of loyalty in wine-soaked breath. It is not yet rebellion, but it is close. And on the other side of the city, watching closely, is Marcus Tullius Cicero, the consul, the orator, the ever-watchful defender of the Republic, a man of keen intellect and sharp tongue. He is not noble-born, but he is powerful, suspicious by nature, persuasive by training. He hears the whispers, the messengers, the warnings. Some call them rumors. Cicero calls them evidence. He begins to speak. Before the full Senate, in the shadow of the Temple of Concord, Cicero delivers his famous orations, the Catilinarian orations. Quo usque tandem, abuter Catilina, passea nostra? How long, Catiline, will you abuse our patience? The words are calm, measured, but they ripple through the chamber like a distant drumbeat of war. Cicero accuses Catiline openly. He names his crimes, his plans, his co-conspirators. Some senators shift in their seats, some nod, others remain still. Catiline does not deny, stands proud, and leaves the Senate escorted, not by guards, but by his own volition. He walks into exile, or so they believe, but exile is not his destination. He rides north toward Etruria. There a rebel army waits, small, disorganized but real. There is a plan, an uprising from within, timed with a strike from without. Rome would burn. The Senate would fall. A new order would rise. Back in the city, the conspirators who remain behind are caught. Letters are intercepted. Confessions are made. The Senate is paralyzed. What should be done? The law forbids execution without trial, but the risk of revolt is real. Cicero again speaks. He urges swift action, for safety, for stability, for the Republic. And so, in one cold night in December, the conspirators are led into the Tullianum, the oldest prison in Rome. In a dim, subterranean chamber, they are strangled, quietly, without spectacle. Rome does not cheer. It holds its breath. Outside the walls, Catiline prepares his men for battle. They are outnumbered, equipped. Most are farmers, debtors, the forgotten, but they fight. In a narrow valley in Etruria, the rebellion ends. Catiline falls, sword in hand, surrounded by the bodies of his companions. When his corpse is found, they say he still wore his noble armor. His eyes were open, his expression fierce. And Rome, once again, returns to a nervous stillness. The conspiracy of Catiline fades into history, but never fully disappears. Some say Cicero saved the Republic. Others say he destroyed its last flicker of dissent. To this day, scholars debate, was Catiline a traitor, or a reformer thwarted by the elite? Was Cicero a hero, or a man who silenced his enemies with preemptive fear? The rhythm of their lives was political tension, sleepless calculation, and the ever-present anxiety of a world teetering between order and collapse. And as you drift deeper into this story, you can almost hear the echoes of their voices beneath the marble, soft, steady, like wind through columns. Visit abandoned Roman cities swallowed by desert and forest, and the eerie ruins that whisper of decline. Let the voices of conspiracy now fade into silence. Let the tension of political halls give way to stillness. A different kind of stillness. The kind that settles over places once full of life, now forgotten. Tonight, we walk among ghosts. Not spirits, exactly, but echoes. Lingering shapes of once thriving cities that now lie beneath sand, vine, or moss. Cities that were once Roman, cities that bore the mark of the eagle, the language of Latin, the rhythm of imperial time. Now they sleep, touched only by wind or time or the occasional curious traveler. Let us wander gently, as though through a dream. First, imagine the warmth of North Africa. The dry air carries a faint scent of dust and stone. You approach the ruins of Timgad in what is now Algeria. It is late afternoon. Sun hovers low. Shadows stretch long over rows of broken columns. This city was once called Tamugadi. Built by Emperor Trajan in the year 100 CE, it was a gift to veterans, a colony for soldiers turned citizens. The streets form a perfect grid, paved with stone worn smooth by 1,000 sandals. The arches still stand, though cracked. There is a library here at least, what remains of one. You pause before its steps. The niche where scrolls once rested is empty, but the quiet knowledge lingers. The forum, too, is still. Baths are dry. The basilica, long hall of worship and laws, open to the sky. But there's no traffic, no clamor of carts, no debate. Timgad was buried slowly over centuries by Saharan sands, forgotten until it was unearthed, like a memory you didn't know you had. And now, it sleeps again. Let us move east now, toward the cradle of the Fertile Crescent. Tudoria, perched on a cliff above the Euphrates River in modern-day Syria. This was not a city founded by Rahman. It became Roman. It bore the empire's signs, its soldiers, its customs. And then, one day in the 3rd century, it was attacked. The Sassanid Persians came with siege engines and tunnels. The defenders, in desperation, used sulfur and pitch, creating what may have been one of the first instances of chemical warfare. But it did not save them. The city fell, its walls breached, its streets filled with silence, and over time it, too, was covered in earth. When archaeologists uncovered it in the 1920s, they found frescoes in a synagogue, Greek inscriptions, Roman barracks, and Christian paintings, faiths, and cultures preserved in quiet collapse. There are no markets here. It's only crumbled towers and traces of wall paintings, faded as dreams. The Euphrates still flows. The wind still whispers. But Dura's voice has long gone quiet. Farther west, into Europe now. Into dense, whispering forests. In southern France, near the modern village of Santar, Provins, lie the ruins of Glanum. Spring flows, here soft and clear, sacred to the Celts before the Romans came. The city grew around it. The Romans built baths to harness its healing waters. A forum, a triumphal arch, mausoleums carved with loving precision. But in the 3rd century, as Germanic tribes swept through Gaul, the city was abandoned, left behind, forgotten beneath centuries of soil and root. Today olive trees grow among the stones. Their leaves murmur in the breeze. Birds nest in crumbling pillars. And the spring still flows. Slowly, softly its waters, still cool to the touch. And what of Ostia, Anticarome's own harbor? This was no distant outpost. Ostia was Rome's gateway to the Mediterranean, bustling with trade, cargo, sailors, and voices from across the known world. You can still walk its streets today. They are intact. The taverns remain complete with mosaics advertising menus. Wine, bread, olives. The apartment blocks rise 2 or 3 stories high. The baths, the temples, the latrines all still there, frozen, but the sea receded, the Tiber shifted, and with it, Ostia's relevance faded. Trade moved elsewhere. The city emptied. Grass grew in the cracks. Trees crept in. And Ostia became a city of statues without people, roads without wheels, shadows without movement. Walk there today, and you may hear only your footsteps. Each of these cities tells a quiet story. Not of defeat by sword, but by time. Not of a single fall, but of a slow forgetting. They were Roman, proud, ordered, alive. And now they are reminders. That even marble yields, that even empires grow quiet. Now that even the mightiest walls are no match for wind and rain, root and silence. So imagine yourself wandering down a colonnade softened by centuries, past a fountain whose bowl holds only dust. You stop, you listen, and perhaps just faintly, you hear them. The rhythm of sandals on stone, the low murmur of market voices, the echo of a Senate decree. Not ghosts in the usual sense, just history, whispering through the ruins. Softly, slowly, almost too quietly to hear. Marble baths, chained slaves, pet cheetahs, and nightly recitations, immersion into elite Roman leisure and power. Now we step away from forgotten cities and broken stone. Let the dust settle behind us. Let the silence of ruins give way to something else, something warmer, more polished. Imagine not a battlefield, nor a barracks, nor a marketplace, but a villa. Not just any villa. This is the countryside estate of a Roman senator, carved into the gentle hills of Campania, perhaps near the Bay of Naples, or overlooking olive groves in Latium. The road to the villa is long and well kept. Cypress trees line the way. The sun is soft, filtered through branches. The breeze carries the scent of pine, crushed herbs, and distant sea salt. As you approach, the world changes. The villa is vast. You pass through the outer gate, flanked by attendants in clean linen tunics. Beyond is the vestibulum, the entryway, a space for arrival and for awe. Mosaics in black and white greet the eye patterns of vines, birds, mythic beasts. The air here is cooler. You step inside. The floors are smooth underfoot, marble imported from distant provinces. The walls are painted deep reds, ochres, gentle blues. Columns rise like tree trunks around the central atrium, framing a square opening in the ceiling that lets in light. Rain, when it falls, gathers in the shallow pool below, the impluvium. Water trickles, faint and constant. The sound is soothing. Servants move silently. You see them only in glimpses adjusting curtains, preparing bowls of fruit, lighting oil lamps as the sun begins to dip. This villa is not built for survival. It was built for elegance, for impression, for a certain kind of quiet control. The senator himself is not yet visible. He may be finishing a letter in the tablinum, his study, a room filled with scrolls and the scent of wax and parchment. Or perhaps he is being massaged with oils, preparing for the evening's recitation. His day began not early, but not late. He does not rise with the first light. He is no farmer, but neither does he waste time. Breakfast was light, perhaps figs, cheese, and honeyed wine. Then a brief audience with clients, men of lesser rank, who come to flatter and ask favors. Their presence is both expected and tiring. The senator listens, nods, promises nothing. He is practiced at this, then a ride. He mounts a well-fed horse, followed by slaves and freedmen. Perhaps even a pet cheetah lished and collar tamed, not for hunting, but for prestige. Through the fields he rides, inspecting land he barely tills, vineyards harvested by others, orchards maintained by hands not his own. Back in the villa, he enters the balneum, the bath suite. Here, time slows. There is the apoditerium, the changing room. Then the tepidarium, warm and gentle. The caldarium, hot and steaming. The frigidarium, cold and bracing. Each space designed for cleansing not just of body, but of thought. Servants attend him. Oils are applied, scrapers, strigils remove sweat and dust. Perfumes are dabbed. It is ritual. It is rhythm. It is the shape of leisure. By late afternoon, he reclines in the triclinium, the dining room. The couches are angled around a low table. He leans on one elbow, his toga loosened. The meal is slow. There may be roasted dormice stuffed with herbs, fish caught that morning. Honey-glazed fruits, dishes from Asia, Africa, Greece, all served by hands that do not eat. Musicians pluck quiet notes on lyres. A slave girl may dance slowly, with steps practiced to be graceful, but not passionate. The senator listens, smiles faintly. Yes, says little. This is not feasting for hunger. It is performance. Power made palatable. As twilight settles, the cubiculum, his sleeping room, awaits. The sheets are linen. The bed is carved, decorated, layered. A servant waits to undress him, another to draw curtains. But before sleep, he may sit beside the garden pond, in the peristylium, where torches flicker gently in clay holders. The air is fragrant troze, myrtle, night-blooming jasmine. Here in the stillness, he may think of Rome, of votes cast, of favors owed, of rivals watched, of alliances brewing. Or perhaps he thinks of nothing at all. The rhythm of his life is one of choice, of curated stillness, of comfortable distance from need. God, but even this world has its cracks. The villa may appear serene, but beneath the marble is labor, beneath the silk control. The slaves who till the land, who scrub the floors, who tend the fires they do not rest, they move through back corridors, sleep on pallets, rise before dawn. Some are educated, trusted, even beloved. Others are invisible, nameless. They serve in silence, some hope for manumission, others for escape. The senator does not ask, and so the villa remains gleaming and enclosed. A private empire within the larger one, a place where power is aesthetic, where leisure conceals authority. This, too, is Rome. Not the blood and dust of the arena, but the quiet control of a state life. Not conquest, but comfort. Not sword, but scroll. And as you walk away from the villa, past the rustling olive groves and the fading sound of a lyre, you begin to sense the contradiction. The same civilization that built roads across continents also built courtyards for idle hours. That an empire of iron was also an empire of cushions. That behind the polished stone, there was always more than met the eye. And now, the night deepens. We've walked many paths through the Roman world. Not just the triumphal roads paved in stone, but the quieter, dustier ones, the ones traced by tired feet, by forgotten hands, by the restless hush of centuries. We began with the foot soldier. You felt the ache of miles marched, the cold bite of night air, the heavy silence between battles. You heard the rhythm of duty, the burden of promise, and the weariness etched into lives spent in service of something distant and vast. Then, we stepped into the Senate. There, beneath the high ceilings and marble statues, we saw a different kind of struggle, one of politics and ambition, secrets and suspicion. We listened to Cicero's voice, trembling not with fear, but with calculation. And we watched Catiline vanish into rebellion and legend. From there, we wandered among ruins. We paused where life once thrived in Timgad's sunlit streets, Duro-Europus's painted walls, Ostia's empty shops. We heard echoes in the silence, stories hidden in stone, cities patiently waiting under the layers of time. And finally, we entered the villa. We tasted luxury. We walked through still courtyards, breathed in the scent of jasmine and oil lamps, saw the ease, the indulgence, the illusion of control, and behind it, the quiet truth that even leisure rests on labor, that even serenity is structured. The Roman world was vast, proud, fragile. Its strength lay in its systems, its people, its myths, and its contradictions. It conquered and it crumbled. It built and it forgot. It offered grandeur and hardship. And tonight, as you rest, perhaps you carry with you some faint imprint of all those lives. A soldier dreaming of distant land, senators speaking carefully in a marble hall, a slave lighting a torch in the dark, a mother hanging laundered tunics beneath the Tuscan sun, a scribe unrolling a scroll, a mason setting the final stone. They are not loud. They do not ask to be remembered, but they are there in the quiet, in the rhythm, in the long, slow breath of history. So now, let the torches burn low. Let the scrolls be rolled and set aside. Let the wind move gently through the ruins. Let the empire sleep, and you may sleep too. Good night.